Hey, this is Joseph from The Healthy Marriage, and I want to talk about the 3-step marriage communication resuscitation plan. Stanford University put out a paper outlining a 3-step resuscitation plan for people who feel bombarded, isolated, and overwhelmed in dealing with emotional challenges. And you can see at the bottom of the screen here the URL for that link, and I'll have it below the video as well. Now, I think this applies especially to those facing relationship struggles. The 3-step plan, it goes like this. Number 1, stop and take a deep breath. 2, slow down. 3, complete one simple task. Now, let's use this as a grid and apply to communication issues in marriage. We can actually use it in any type of relationship conflict, but let's see it in terms of communication. So, number 1, stop and take a breath. The importance of patience cannot be overstated. It's crucial when it comes to communication. And the key lesson is this: don't try to force things. You know, we often rush ahead with our plan and we end up forcing the issue, and it rarely works out the way that we really desire. This usually takes the form of placing demands. You hear things like, I demand to be heard. I demand that you listen to me. I demand that you answer me. Well, I don't think I have to tell you this simply doesn't work. You see, the minute that we begin the conversation with demands, we lose the attention and possibly the respect of the other person. When communicating your needs, stop forcing and just take a breath. Get your bearings and regain your composure. And I know that sometimes it's not easy. But listen, we can't allow our emotions to control us. So do not allow emotions to control you. Rather, you get in control of your emotions. The best way to do this is to simply stop doing whatever you're doing and breathe. Don't rush it. Take your time and breathe. A while back, my wife and I were having a planning session. She's in the midst of writing a book, and I have several writing projects on my plate as well. And so she wanted help navigating a certain part of her new book. So I was busy, but I agreed to help her. And needless to say, I had my own agenda for this meeting, and honestly, it wasn't her agenda. So I pulled out the whiteboard that we often use, and I began charting what I thought was the best path. And I was forcing. I wasn't listening. I asked questions she couldn't answer, but I kept forcing the issue, wanting her to make some decisions she wasn't really ready to make. The more questions I asked, the more hesitant she became. I pressed on. Pretty soon, the meeting devolved into tension. Finally, I took my own advice. I slowed down, took a breath, and I stopped. We decided it just wasn't the right time to have that particular meeting, so we took a break. Now, when we finally resumed the meeting, I just let her talk. I let her express her desires and address what she thought was the real issue and where she wanted to go. We ended up on the same page and were able to make progress, but it only happened because I stopped long enough to take a breath and listen. See, communication is not just about being heard. It's about hearing. And until we're ready to listen, we probably shouldn't be talking. I want to read that again. Until we're ready to listen, we probably shouldn't be talking. I realize that's a strong statement, but really think about that. Number 2 on their Stanford study was slow down. Taking it slow will help you make sure you're taking the right steps. You see, when we move too fast, it's easy to lose sight of our path. Have you ever played a new video game that went so fast you couldn't keep up? Maybe it wasn't a video game. Just think back to when you were learning to drive. Things happen so fast, you're not ready to move that fast. Well, in terms of video games, I've done that, and I was a colossal failure at the game. You see, my son wanted me to play a sports video game when he was about 12 years old. He had a new console, and so we sat down to play. And he was an ace. He played the game thousands of times, and this was my very first time, and it showed. He was accomplished and could stay in the game regardless of how fast the characters move. He could do this because he was comfortable with the game. I could not. I was not comfortable. It was new, fast, unpredictable, and I was overwhelmed. I had to slow down and take it easy. We somehow put it on slow motion or just reduced the speed of the game. And once I got comfortable with the game, I got better. But I first had to slow down and find my rhythm. Then and only then could I pick up the pace as the game progressed. It's the same with marriage, the same with communication, especially when you're trying to get your spouse to pay attention to your feelings and connect with your needs, when you're trying to communicate and connect. So you got to take it slow so you don't lose your bearings. So let's move on. Number 3, complete just one task. I really like this. I like it because it reminds me that small wins add up. You don't have to win the war at this point. You just need to win one little battle. By the way, I really dislike using terms like war and battle to describe relationships. It kind of breeds this false sense of your spouse being an opponent, and they're not. So forgive me, but I really want to make a point, and I hope you get the message. The point is set small goals, win a few, enjoy what you've done, and in time the wins become more frequent and bigger. Completing one task means that you stay focused on what's important. Don't get distracted with issues that do not matter. Stay on point with the matter at hand. Listen, if you're talking about how you feel, don't bring up how he doesn't take out the trash unless that's why you feel the way that you feel. You see, it's about staying on point. So talk about the issue at hand and don't allow yourself to drag other things into the mix. This will only frustrate your spouse and it dilutes what is really important. And those are 2 big issues that we have to address when we talk about communication. See, it's about laser focus. When you apply that to your marriage and to communication with your spouse, you move forward. This keeps you from taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It keeps you moving in the right direction. It may be slow, but it's forward movement, not backward. Well, this 3-part resuscitation plan that Stanford University came up with, it will help you communicate better, to listen more effectively, and find freedom from emotional overwhelm in your relationship. For more help with your marriage, check out our marriage toolkit, and you can find that at thehealthymarriage.org/toolkit. Listen, I hope this helps you resuscitate some communication in your marriage.